welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, your one-stop platform for all things to do with the entrepreneurial world. We also bring to you this very special series on personal finance every Tuesday, talking about how to make and manage your money. We have two guests joining us on the show tonight. Let's listen in to them.
Well, Tanvir, you've just witnessed this messaging here, and I think I'm stating the obvious, but there is, as I mentioned earlier, no single strategy that works when it comes to securing our financial future. But for the benefit of our audience, give us a bit more information about your background, but not only that, more importantly, what has worked for you?
See, basically, when you're looking at wealth management per se, I would simplify it in 3 steps. First, protect what your hard-earned money, grow them, and the third would be to seamlessly transfer this money to your loved ones. So, in fact, the distinguished panelist spoke about health insurance. The first 2 things that you should at must have is your health insurance and your term insurance. And Dr. Peter rightly said that by regulation, we secure our car or insure our car, which is far less valuable than our own lives, which we do not do. Okay? So hence, these 2 help you to protect. When it comes to investment, most often, we typically ask, it reminds me of a Maruti ad earlier, कितनी mileage देती है? Most often we only ask what's the return. Return is a subject of risk, and to a great extent the risk can be reduced by increasing the time horizon of investments. So it is wise to invest focusing on what are you saving for your goals. Okay, whether it be children education, planning for your retirement, buying a house. Adding direction to your investment helps you to choose the right set of product. Now, since it is a medical forum, I'll use an anecdote, which I think Dr. Peter will endorse very well. See, ibuprofen or ibugesic is a medicine which works very well for fever and inflammation or severe body ache. A patient having dengue will most likely have a similar symptom. If ibugesic is administered to a dengue patient, God forbid, most likely the patient might die. So same symptoms, same medicine, and yet 2 different outcomes. So it is most often the ill application of the product that destroys your capital and not the product in itself. The stock market historically started from 100, today it's reached its all-time high of 60,000. It has created immense wealth. But if I ask many people in this forum, how many of them have participated in this wealth creation? Very limited people would be there. So this is the second part. The third part is, very often when we invest in this pandemic, and it was very sad, I lost one of my very good friend who had got a term insurance through us. When I wrote to her wife that so-and-so gentleman had a term insurance, she said, oh, thank you so much. I wasn't aware. Most often we ignore will, leave it to the old age or nomination and investments. These are few very, very important things when you're managing your own money.
Well, Tanvir, a follow-up question here is that oftentimes the lines begin to blur between saving versus investing, right? So how does one devise that personal strategy for themselves that essentially suits their risk appetite and their short and long-term goals?
Okay. So before I answer this question, let me share a very simple secret sauce to wealth creation. And what is that secret sauce to wealth creation? It is called the power of compounding, which we have learned in school. And if you actually visualize the formula, is amount equals to principal within bracket 1 plus r raised to the power n. Many a times you will see, you will ask question, ye kitna return degi? What will be the return of the product? Very few people ask think about the n. So you're looking only half the picture. It is not the return alone. It is the end, time you invest in the market that creates wealth, significant wealth. Now, so hence, time plays a very critical role in creating wealth. But power of compounding works like magic for a longer term horizon of investment. But if your time horizon is less than 5 years, you want to need the money in less than 5 years, then power of compounding does not work. So if you are investing for any goals or you need the money in less than 5 years, you should be focusing not blindly chasing return and preserving capital. For a long-term horizon of investment, you can actually chase return creation. Now, coming back to your question on savings and investment, so our parents or any household, when the demonetization happened, a lot of money came out of your cupboard, right? If you keep the cupboard or in a rice bowl, that is called saving, that is not growing. Okay. Anything that is invested and multiplied over a period of time or grows over a period of time is called investment. That's the segregation.
So how can players in this ecosystem, addressing both the short-term and long-term interests of the consumer, make credit more consumer-friendly?
So I think credit card is not actually bad. It's not a devil. It's how you use makes credit card good or bad. So credit card is actually a free loan for 50 days given to you in that plastic. And how does that work? You have a billing cycle. Suppose today is 24th and your billing cycle is 24th. And if you are using a card tomorrow, your billing will start 24th of next month, that is 24th October. And thereafter, you have a 20-day period to repay the loan. So you have a free credit of 50 days left. There are few blunders. You will always get a call for paying minimum amount due. Please do not get into the trap. Okay? You should pay the entire bill on or before the due date. Ensure that the check gets cleared before the due date so that you are not levied any interest charges. Secondly, the worst form of using a credit card is withdrawing cash from an ATM. You are not only charged between 2.5% to 3% of the withdrawal amount, but you start paying interest equivalent to 2.5% to 3% per month interest also on that, which means 36% interest plus an absolute charge of 2.5% to 3%. So the worst form of credit card users is withdrawing cash from any ATM.
So how does one go about making the right decisions so as to ensure credibility and strength of credit score that in turn, of course, leads you to more attractive terms when it comes to loans, larger financial decisions, etc.?
Very good question. So basically what we call is cibil score. Okay? It's nothing but your credit worthiness score. If you're taking loan and you're repaying the loan on time, there is a central database which captures your loan repayment track record. And that is what is our cibil score. If you're doing it on a timely basis, your cibil health score is very high. Okay? And if your cibil health score is very high, all banks will come forward to give you loan when you need it. But if you actually do not repay the credit on time, whether it's credit card, personal loan, home loan, any kind of loan that you have taken, you have been watched. And if you do not repay on time, your credit score deteriorates. And below a certain credit score, no bank would be willing to lend you money when you actually need them.
And Tanvir, what about sort of the younger generation that is keen on wealth creation, but it's mystifying them? It's overwhelming them. For example, if I were to sign up for a credit card and be enticed by these awards and rewards, but when I go to redeem them, they are layers and layers of complications, processes, fine print, etc. How might you guide someone in that position to take the first step towards simplifying and growing their finances?
No, I think in terms of reward point, a lot of simplification has already happened. There was a time when these rewards were physically couriered to you, okay, in the form of voucher or anything that you would want. But now, most of the rewards that you see are possibly on a digital way. So you can go to a credit card website, log into your account, redeem, and most often you will get a digital, and most of them are in the form of vouchers now. So you will get a digital voucher on your SMS within 24 to 48 hours. So a lot have got simplified in the coming digital era, which was a pain, as you rightly said, 5-10 years ago.
And Tanvir, by way of parting words, right, for someone that is perhaps on the fence between whether to build their own personal financial portfolio or seek the advice of a professional and outsource that particular component of their life, how might you guide them and how might you encourage them to take the first step?
Very good question. See, to be very honest, personal finance is not something that you can't manage on your own. Okay, it requires a little bit of time, little bit of discipline, and little bit of learning that you need to do. And it is like if you can manage it yourself and you're giving your time, then by all means do that. But if you're not able to give time, please do not experiment with your hard-earned money. Then it is wise to take help from an expert. Fortunately, the digital world today, everything is available on Google. But if you can use that knowledge, use that information, and convert that into knowledge and use it, by all means do it. But if you can actually collect that data and you are not able to convert them into knowledge and wisdom, then you will be experimenting with your hard-earned money.
Well, I think that makes for a wonderful note upon which to close. And, thank you for sharing so many nice nuggets of wisdom with us, Tanvir. I think we've all found them of value. And we thank you for joining us this evening.
I have to take a quick break on that note. We're back in just a moment. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. And tonight, we're continuing to focus on personal finance. Here is a quick takeaway from our second guest.
Let's get into investing strategies, in just a moment. But I want to talk a little bit more about credit score in terms of how continuously does it need to be monitored? What are some of the self-monitoring tools to ensure that you are in fact on the right track and it's not a figure you wake up to when you're looking to make a large life decision?
So now the lifestyle expenses have gone up. Also the inflation, which in India is almost 5 to 6% per annum, the cost will keep on going up. So you have to think of the expenses 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line, and build a substantial retirement savings corpus. Just when you start your job or you start a new business. So if you are 25 and you are just started on a salary, even if it's a very small salary of 20 or 30,000, you have to start with a minimum savings. If you don't save when you are earning less, you will never be able to save even if you are earning 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs per month. So that savings habit has to come when you receive your first salary or when you make a first business income. Normally entrepreneurs say, we don't have savings, we never keep anything for ourselves, we have staff to pay. You treat yourself as a staff. So suppose you have 10 people whom you are paying a salary of 20,000 per month. You treat yourself as the 11th person, pay yourself 20,000 salary and then invest that for your retirement. Don't just keep on continuing business without saving for yourself. So this is how you always have start inculcating the savings habit when you are earning less. So when you start earning more, you will definitely increase your savings from 20% to 30%, 40, 50% of your monthly income. Because as your income goes up, your expenses don't proportionately go up. And you should never also increase your expenses. So your lifestyle expenses should be within control. Don't buy liabilities just to show off your neighbors. Don't upgrade from a small car to a bigger car just to show your neighbors that you have got a bigger car. Or similarly, if you are already living in a house of your own or you have a flat of your own, don't buy an additional flat just to rent it out at a small 2 or 3% rental yield. So the mortgage rates in India are almost 7%. Now they are just 6.5 or 6.9. Still, it is much higher than the rental yields. So it doesn't make sense taking a home loan, slogging for the next 20, 30 years, paying those EMIs, and then getting a minuscule rent on those houses. Because you will be just spending and you will not be getting those returns.
Absolutely. And for many first-time entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in small and medium enterprises or those contemplating taking their startup to the next level of growth, right? Perhaps they've depleted friends and family money and they're not quite mature enough to secure private equity or venture capital financing. What are the credit avenues at their disposal that they can avail? And how might you guide someone who finds themselves in that situation?
So Government of India has started many schemes for entrepreneurs to take loans at a lower interest rate. So if you want to start, have a startup of your own, I think you get almost up to 25 lakhs of loan at a very low interest with a higher repayment period. So those type of loans you should always take. Try to take it before you go for a loan from your friends, family, or a personal loan at a higher rate of interest. So, and you should always do a detailed study what the business will give you in return versus the interest what you will be paying. So suppose your IRR from your business is less than 6% and your interest expenses are more than 12%, it just doesn't make sense. So you have to do a detailed report first, see what IRR your business will give, and then you start on your own business. Because that is the main reason startups fail. So if you get a venture capital funding, which is not very common, only maybe Zomato or Nykaa or those Paytm, those get higher fundings. But there are many other startups which die maybe 2 or 3 years after they start because the salaries are so high and the rentals are so high, they are not able to cope up with that.
And so you're, of course, a very seasoned mutual fund investor. And I think if we were to survey any audience and ask them about SIPs, systematic investment plans or mutual funds, the first reaction would be, the tagline mutual funds sahi hai. But beyond that, it's very sort of challenging to make the case for why and under what circumstances. So as you've gone about building your own investment portfolio and guiding others, your clients, how have you approached the mutual fund avenue and angle in that portfolio and asset allocation model?
So when I started out in 2003, my first SIP was just around 5,000 rupees per month. And from that, I have moved to almost a SIP, personal SIP of 3 lakhs per month. So you keep on saving when you start earning. And you should always take a experienced help of an advisor or a guidance person. And you should differentiate your goals. So you should save for different goals in a different way. So if you have a retirement goal which is 30 years down the line, you should invest in an equity fund which will give you around 12 to 15% per annum compounded returns. And if you have a short-term goal like maybe 5 years for your upgrade of your car or your child's school expenses, then you should go for a balanced fund which will give around 8 to 9%. Also, if you have some short-term goals, like maybe 6 months or 1 year, then you should invest only in debt funds, which will give 5 to 6%. And another thing, what people realized during the pandemic was they didn't have enough savings to take care when their income stopped. So always have a 6 months expenses as a buffer. So whatever expenses per month you are having at present, that 6 months should be a buffer, either in a savings account like IDFC, which gives you a higher interest rate, or maybe in a short-term, ultra-short-term debt fund, which will give around 5 to 6% per annum. This money can be used any time if there is a urgency of need of funds that your job stops or you're not able to generate money from your business, you should not have to tap into your retirement savings for that. You should have a short-term fund which you should always run. Additional funds you can invest in equities for a long term.
And if there are any questions from our audience, we can certainly take them now.
My name is Hemant. I work for Goa Miles. Now I'm 30, so I want to understand what should be the percentage. There are various instruments in which a person can invest in, right? There is recurring deposit, there is fixed savings, there is mutual fund. What should be the percentage allocation with respect to X amount of salary? You can just consider that to be 10,000 and you can put a percentage to it. And what is the future for crypto, and is it viable that people of young generation invest in cryptocurrency?
So I'll take the first question. If you want to save 10,000 per month, and if you really have a 5 years, 10 years, 15 years horizon, then equity mutual funds will be the best asset. So you do a systematic investment plan every month. You can divide it into 2 funds, good funds, one large cap, one mid cap fund, and then 5,000 you just accumulate. So 10,000 investment for 20 years will grow to almost 1 crore if the stock market gives you 12% return. And stock markets always give you double return of inflation. So if inflation at present is 6 to 7%, you can definitely expect 12 to 14% from the stock market and equity mutual funds. You don't have to save much into FDs, because FDs is maybe 6% per annum. And also if you are into 30% bracket, 30% of the tax will be gone. So net after tax is 4.2%. So you are not even using that money, but unnecessarily you are paying income tax on that. And regarding your second question of crypto is something like maybe betting horses, like how Junjunwala had said. So your Mahalakshmi race course is much better than crypto. So crypto as a new tool is good, but you have to do a lot of study. So it is not for speculators. So when crypto was started, it was supposed to be a currency. So people buy cryptos, they can use it to pay utility bills, electricity bills. So maybe Tesla also wants to make it like to buy a car or something like that. So just because the world is going after Fed, you should not risk your hard-earned money into crypto. Maybe if you want to try, maybe 5% of your entire portfolio. So like if you want to save 10,000 per month, then you can invest 500 rupees or just to try crypto. So there is a high risk, high return, but something which is so volatile will never give you good returns in the long term. People have seen this with the tulip bulb, all those stuff, what has happened. So it is similar to those tea plantations where they used to promise so many high returns. There are also some now schemes where people say they will be investing in crypto, they will be doing crypto trading, and they will give you 15% per month fixed rate. So people fall for those traps. 15% month is impossible for any trader, whether is a Junjunwala or any other trader into crypto. So you should always think, if the bank is giving 6% per annum, how can someone give me 15% per month? So it is just like the last person will be trapped whenever you invest in those. So if you want, you can maybe like 5% of your total this, but not risk much more than that.
Completely out of time on tonight's episode. If you have any feedback for us, do let us know. Our contact details coming up on your screens as we speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.